The next part of next keynote that we're going to be doing, you can have the best content strategy in the world, but if you can't get the headcount or the budget to do it, it doesn't mean nothing. So this part of this session, we're going from, all right, this is what our plan is. Now, how do we reach those who have the power and purse strings to get your product or project championed and the budget to do it? Are you on? No? Yes? No? Speak.
I'm on.
He's on?
I'm on? We're on.
Okay. Noz Urbina, take it away.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to be as quick as possible because we got some technical difficulties at the kickoff there. My name is Noz Urbina, and I'm doing Reach Those Who Control the Power and the Purse Strings. So this is kind of I've done this talk once at LavaCon a few years ago, so you can say back by popular demand. This is the short version. I'm going to be doing the 1 hour kind of in-depth with more examples and stories and techniques at 4 o'clock. So my name is Noz Urbina. I'm a content strategist and modeler, consultant and trainer, author of the book, Content Strategy, Connecting the Dots Between Business, Brand, and Benefits. So quite topical for what I'm going to be talking about today. Thank you very much. He was in my workshop. I got a new fan. So I do big, hairy, ugly, mean, scary projects. I've had multiple clients tell me, you're the consultant who didn't run away. So that's the kind of background I came from, but I think a lot of those lessons are applicable to any organization of any size. Just became guest lecturer at the Graz University in Austria in their master's program in content strategy. And I work in the USA and Europe, mainly, but I'm actually based in Spain, or around here you might know it better as the Kingdom of Dorn. It's quite beautiful. You should come visit. And in Dorn, we are famous for content and strategy, strategy and content. So what is content strategy? In short, one of the ways that I kind of usually say it is that content strategy is about delivering right user, right content, right time. But it's the overlap point. It's the alignment of content, people, process, platforms, and positioning to support business strategy. It's where your organization's goals and your user goals meet. If you focus on that, then you are being strategic with your content. I'm adding a third dimension for this talk, which is you. So the idea is you have some initiative, you want to move forward, you want to get funding, you want to take that up the org chart so you can get it signed off and actually make change happen. So how do you do that? And the way you do that is you take that content strategy thinking of the overlap between organizational goals and user goals, and then you overlay your goals. And when those three all meet together, that's sexual chocolate. That's the thing that we're all after. That's the best thing we could possibly get our hands on. That's the best balance for all worlds. So, what we've got here is failure to communicate from the movie Cool Hand Luke. One of the first things you're going to need to do, and first things you're going to have to kind of wrap your head around if you want to get your initiative moving forward, is that your content strategy needs a content strategy. This is something I think a lot of my clients take a little while to adjust to. They think they have a business case, they have a plan, they have their justification, their reasoning, but they don't actually have a proper, fleshed out content strategy. That means actually going out and doing audience analysis. Who is your audience internally in your organization? What do they want? What do they care about? What is their background? How much terminology are they going to understand? What language can you use when you're speaking to them? How do they break down into groups? All the things you would do to an external audience, you're going to have to do to your internal audience if you want to sell this idea so you can get the money that will pay for it. Once you've got this strategy, you're going to have to build an actual editorial calendar. What communications are we going to make, and how frequently are we going to make them? You're going to have a balance between keeping managers interested and overwhelming them. Managers go cold very easily. You've got to envision that, I don't know where that feedback's coming from. You've got to envision that you're coming in to do your pitch. Depending on how high you get in the organization, when you're at the executive vice president level or the CEO level, you should imagine yourself as one unit on a conveyor belt of screaming people. This person sits there all day long and has people come in and go, oh, we need $1 million for this, we need $1 million for that, and you're one of them. So how are you going to set yourself apart? By not being just another screaming person. Having a balanced argument where you're hitting them with the right amount of information at the right frequency, and with a balance of, yes, hard facts, we can save this much, we will get this much benefit, it's the costing is this much in the support center, numbers, the meaty stuff, which we think, or we all assume managers care about, but also qualitative stuff. Managers are very often very passionate, visionary people. They'll latch on to qualitative stories. We went to a customer site, we rolled out the product, the content hit them, and they were miserable. Like, they will grab onto that anecdote, and then they will repeat it to other managers. They will believe in it and connect with that. We kind of envision them as being just all about the numbers and all about the bottom line. The bottom line is extremely important, but they're people. And they will connect with emotional stories, and they will carry your emotional story out to the rest of the organization. So get that balance right between those three factors. Everything that you put in your content strategy should be validated with that question. We are content professionals in this room, so we get passionate about content. We say things like content is king. And we come into organizations and we say, well, we need our content to do this, we need our content to do that. It's poorly indexed, it's inaccurate, it's hard to find, it's not in the format that users want. And who outside of this room really cares? Those are not actually reasons to do anything. Our content is hard to find, it's only available in PDF, its terminology is inconsistent. None of those are reasons, and none of them are motivations for change. You have to put so what answer on that. So therefore, we are getting more calls to the call center. So therefore, we lost this account. So therefore, we are not complying with our service level agreements. And we are at risk of losing business. You need a so what. Without the so what, it's just your interest as a content professional. This is my friend Wormtongue from The Lord of the Rings. I think we've all had this person in our organization, the one person in the room who's kind of undermining everything you say and whispering evil into the manager's ear while you're trying to get an initiative off the ground. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. My friend Michael Corleone, the Godfather. This is about seeing negativity in a different way. I've actually had some clients here, and it's been very relevant on this last project that I'm currently working on. Thinking about things like audits. If you're in regulated industry and you have to be audited on a regular basis, if you have high security concerns, if your products or platforms are going end of life, or whatever other disasters have happened, keep a Rolodex of that. Collect all of your failures. Put them all together, index them, and organize them so that when you get a chance, you can present them effectively. Take all of your failures and love them and take care of them so that they can be your evidence. They can help you with that so what question. And if you have a worm tongue in your organization, something you can really do is turn it around on them. So the person I'm thinking of right now has a habit of saying, I've been saying that for years. Every time we open our mouths, we present an idea, they go, there's no new thinking there, I knew that. Which, as an external consultant, you love. To be told you're adding no value. So turn that around and say, yes, you're right, and I agree. You have been saying that for years, and I think you're correct. So what I've done is I've taken that idea and I've contextualized it in a plan and in a scope which I think we can execute on within this time frame and budget to actually fix that thing that you're so passionate about. So actually, I need your passion and I want to help you. So will you help me help you? And it's incredibly effective because they shut the hell up. So kiss some ass if you need to. Do it. Do it if you need to, but strategically. Don't be obvious. If these things have boundaries. You don't want to obviously flip-flop and suddenly be the best chum of somebody who you've obviously hated for 10 years. But start to reach across the aisle and at least shake their hand, and over time, things can change. And if nothing else, it'll at least allow you to get on with your presentation and stop derailing it in front of the managers. Very useful for group situations. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Theodore Roosevelt. This is a really, 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 really good little quote. And, you know, coming from somebody in politics, content strategy, implementing content strategy in organizations, for me, constantly reminds me of government. Because it's the art of being hated by everyone, yet simultaneously making progress and order out of chaos. The best book on strategy that I've read so far is called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy by Richard Rummel. I really recommend it. And he talks about what the nature of real strategy is. And he starts right off the bat by saying there's this kind of myth that strategic work and strategic thinking is often associated with people who have a higher pay grade. So what comes out of my mouth is strategic because I have a 7-figure salary, and what comes out of your mouth is tactics because you have a 5-figure salary. This is an invalid distinction. Strategy is actually about compromising with the tools you have and making a pragmatic plan for doing something about it with the assets you actually have. Not about visioning and revisioning and embiggening your objective visions. It's about real meat and it's about doing something. So he says that strategy has 3 components. A diagnosis, so what does your user need? What does your market need? What do you have? What are your assets? Some policies, some guidelines for what you can actually do with that diagnosis and do about it to move it forward, and then tactics. So if you don't put all these things within one wrapper, you don't have a complete strategy. What you have is either a wish list, so because you have all these strategic goals, but you have no idea if you can actually achieve them, or you have a bunch of tactics which are not attached to any strategic goals. So you don't actually have a complete strategy with all 3, and you have to divide those by the reality that you're in. So step-by-step, program, not project. This, for me, is a big one about remembering that we have to be pragmatic when we're rolling things out. So I have somebody who emails me and said, they emailed me and said, Noz, I've got this plan, we did everything you said, we took it up to the global executive, we've got this great scope and budget, and we got a verbal yes, but every time it comes down to an executive vote, we get pushed to the next group executive committee meeting. And this has been happening for like 3 quarters. What do we do? Give it up. Break it up. Break it down into smaller scopes and say, okay, this is not a project. This never was a project. This is a program to put in practices and new ways of working. We're not installing a thing and then it's done. If we don't do it in one big shot and one big budget, we'll do it in 4 little budgets that a lower level manager can sign off without having to go up to the GEC. Adapt your strategy to the situation you're actually in. Not every situation can be turned. Again, I have a client in the room. I think this is a pivotal point in their getting to know me before we contracted to work together. They asked me, what was your most challenging content strategy implementation? And my answer was the ones that failed. Sometimes you have a challenge, sometimes you have a manager or an environment which cannot be fixed. I'm not going to get up here and say, you can do anything you put your mind to. Children 8 to 10, go on your roofs, you can fly. No, you can't. Sometimes you will fail. I've told people to quit their jobs. I've had clients who have quit their jobs because they have the right idea, they have the right plan, they have the business cases there, they have the argumentation, they talk to all the other managers. There's just one linchpin manager who will not be budged and they have their head in the sand. That happens. So deal with the situation you're actually in. Okay, in a similar vein, this is a quote again from one of my clients. If I don't have a toy, I don't have a project. So we don't want to be technology-led. We're talking about strategy and users and business goals and change and all this good stuff. So we don't want to be led by tools. But at the same time, you have to deal with the reality you're in. And so this manager actually said to us, if you say, I want $300,000 for a CMS system, then the business understands that's going to take $700,000 to implement. So you can get your $1 million. If you tell me you want $700,000 to implement process change and digital transformation, no one outside this room is going to even understand what the hell you're talking about. So you have to sell what the business is capable of buying. You have to position your arguments and explain this thing in a way and scope it in a way they can actually accept. That may not be best practice, it may not be how you would like to present it, and it may sound like you're being tech-led, but sometimes you're just saying, this is how my company likes to buy stuff. And If you do get a champion who does support you and say something like that, like, I want to help you, but you have to help me, make tools for them. So make them their elevator pitch. 3 points. This is why we're doing this project. 2 slides, which summarize the thing that you explained to them across an hour and a half next time they're in a management meeting. Don't put together a plan which makes work for them so they have to go sell you later. Help them. Give them the information tools they need to go plead your case to the other executives. Because especially if you're big an organization, you're not going to get through in one management presentation. You might have several. And you want to help them present on your behalf when you're not there. So finally, I've said things along this area. I want to end on the idea, too much self-centered attitude, you see, brings isolation. Result, loneliness, anger, and fear. The Dalai Lama. So at the end of the day, we are communicators. We're supposed to be about helping people. You heard it in the keynote this morning about being empathetic. So I want you to be empathetic. I don't want you to think about what you want in terms of your career, what you want for content, what you think is best for users. I want you to go out and actually listen. Listen, analyze, strategize. You have end user stakeholders, you have management stakeholders, you have other managers, you have your colleagues in the other departments. Figure out what they all want, really listen, and synthesize that into a plan. And then be persistent, regularly communicative, and build relationships to move that forward. Do good. The highest possible outcome is when you have put together what all these different stakeholders want and assembled that. And that overlap in the Venn diagram can look small, but when I was going through this earlier, one of my esteemed colleagues said, if you really have that in mind when you're putting together your plan, that little overlap gets bigger and bigger over time. So go out there, make your plan, sell it well, build bridges, come see me at 4 o'clock, and go get you some sexual chocolate. Thank you very much. I got one last little thing. Email me your storming challenges. People have been kind of doing this informally for a while. They see me talk and then they ask these little questions. Oh, okay, it's not up there anymore. But email me and ask me, say I've got a manager who won't budge because of this and this, and I'll send you back some advice.
Okay. Thank you, Noz. Just to let you know, in case you haven't had enough food today, we've got a nut and organic granola bar in the next room, so with little ramekins. So when you're hungry, stop by, graze, take it with you to your next session, and see you back later today.
Well, that was great, folks. So you have some options.
One more announcement.
Oh, Jack's up.
All the slide decks are going to be available on slideshare.com, so we'll send links to those.
So great, you heard that from Jack. Everything will be up on slideshare.com. Next, we're going into breakout sessions. We fixed the issue from this morning's breakout sessions. So if you are interested in going into another session, you have the PDF file that we sent out. It's also here in the LavaCon virtual track resources pod, along with handouts from today's sessions. So we're going to go ahead and get set up for our next session in this room, which is Yang Grot, who will be doing a software demo, faster than Agile, replacing the publishing process with live content. So we're going to go ahead and help him get set up because he's got a live demo, and we are standing by. So what we need help, you need are the top 3 talking points for a discussion with an executive who only has 10 minutes. That's a great question, and what I'll do, Craig, is I'll make sure that I get that question to Noz, and if you give me your address, Craig, actually I have your email address, I'll try to get Noz in touch with you to give you an answer to that question. Great question. Stand by as we set up our next. And we've got a software demo coming up, folks. So what I want to do is give them as much room on the screen as I possibly can. I'm going to leave the resources up just for a little while longer and resize. I got the layout stored for tomorrow, and I apologize for moving stuff around today, having to move stuff around today. But we do want as much space as we can get for. So let's do a new share pod. And we're going to just name this for you. And we'll set up for our next speaker. Okay? If you do need the handouts back, just let me know and I'll drag that back up for everyone. And we have a nice big space. And when he's in the room, I will promote him to speaker and he will share his software demo. Very, very engaging gentleman coming up next. It was great having a conversation. We're doing some, we're going to let him use his computer so that he can do his software demo. So it's going to take us a couple of minutes to set up. Once we have it set up, we'll do some testing, so you'll see it on the screen. And we should be all set with audio. We just want to make sure that you can see the demo. So stand by. Great having you here. And let us know if you need anything. I see a couple folks typing. I'll bring back the resources in case you need them. The breakout rooms, in all of the other breakout rooms, yes, the breakout rooms are all starting at the same time. And I do believe that, I think they might be starting at 2:30 instead of 2:45. So they did update the schedule this morning. I did not get the same schedule update. Let me do a quick check and I will get back to you, Lisa. Hold on one. And we're going to get started at 2:30. So we're starting at 2:30. So let's just come in here, 2:30, and I'll bring that over. So as they're getting ready, 2:30 p.m., it's a short break, just a 10-minute break. 2:30, then the next session is at 3:45, and then the session after that will be at 5 p.m. 2:30, 3:45, and 5. And sorry about that, folks. My laptop crashed. I think all this voodoo is